Certainly appreciate it. We are in the school board room, so I have to be on my very best behavior here in the Waterville-Elysian-Morristown High School school board room. Jay Schneider is with me. Tom Little is with me. They are on the school board, and Joel Whitehurst is the superintendent of the Waterville-Elysian-Morristown Public Schools. Joe, how long have you been the superintendent?
You're here now.
How many?
13.
Uh-oh.
It's been great.
You said 13?
13. I'm finishing 13, about to begin 14 as of July 1.
You're not a superstitious guy, are you?
Not at all.
That's good.
Not at all.
My baseball uniform number was 13, so, and of course, look what I'm doing now.
It worked well for you.
Yeah. So, and you've had other issues dealing with buildings here in the past.
Yes, we've had, this is the third time we've brought it to the public in regards to building facilities and options and what direction the community wants us to go.
And I would assume that you fashioned this judging on the past.
Well, actually, it's dramatically different than what we've been able to do in the past. Previous building bond issues in 2003 and 2008, the only option that we had available due to state law was new construction. But since that time, that's changed. So now we actually have renovation as an option that the Department of Education will approve it.
Before they wouldn't.
They would not approve it. They said the amount of site size, the acreage that we have in the three buildings in Waterville, Elysian, and Morristown were too small. And they also had a rule that if the cost of renovation was 60% or greater than the cost of new construction, they wouldn't allow. So we have gone through this process in the past and come up with a solution that included some renovations, some other options. We submitted it to the state, and that state basically came down. We had a meeting right here in the boardroom, and they told us, no, we will not allow that to occur.
Bottom line, they said, no way.
Correct. They said, build new or nothing.
Jay, how long have you been on the school board?
Oh, what is this? I think this is my third term, so I think I'm in my 10th or 11th year, something like that.
So you went through some of this then?
Yeah, well, actually, yes, and because I'm the editor of the newspaper, I've kind of been through it that way too. So, but yeah, this will be the second one that I've been involved with on the board.
Your thoughts?
You know, the two new buildings both got voted down pretty substantially. And, you know, the public said, we'd like you to take a look at the remodeling aspect. And now, like Joel said, you know, we can do that. And that's kind of the way that we prepared with this. And we had a facilities committee that was put together, and they looked at, you know, the same ideas and, you know, renovating what we have and try and use what we have. So that's, you know, where we're at right now.
Did you grow up, Jay?
No, St. Charles.
Okay. Tom, are you from the Waterville-Elysian-Morristown area?
Yep. Yeah, I graduated from Waterville-Elysian in 1990, the year before with Morristown.
Oh, okay. You're the elder statesman here. I mean, in terms of Waterville-Elysian-Morristown.
Yeah, I've been here 43 years.
So what's your thoughts on it? You got all the whole history of this.
Yeah, I mean, in 2003, I was not quite on the board yet, but I was involved with the community committee that was researching and coming up with a recommendation. And then after that had failed, I ran for the board and was involved, obviously, with the 2008 and now. And I guess from my own perspective, it took me a long time to come around to the idea of renovation, really until probably just last year. I was really, in my mind, thought that new construction would be best.
Well, it seems kind of makes sense that it's cheaper to go per square foot. I mean,
But then, you know, there's some intangible things. I think that having the school in town is a plus for the communities. You know, both the Morristown and Waterville buildings are in town, and a new building would basically have to be on the edge of town or outside of town, which to get enough space. So I think, you know, the people, I think some of the people, residents like the schools where they are, and renovation, I'm actually excited about it.
All right, we're going to discuss more specifics about the proposal, how it's going to impact taxes and everything when AM Minnesota continues. Our listeners, you're involved in the turkey business.
Raised contract turkeys for Genio and the avian influenza. Obviously, if you haven't heard about that, you maybe don't read the paper or listen to the radio.
No, I was on the moon and a rocket or something. So you're dealing with a very tough business right now.
So far, so good for my farm.
So there's wood there. You can knock on it. That should help. So, Tom, you were telling us your thoughts on all this, and you come around to renovation. You think it's the way to go?
Yeah, I think, you know, just for a lot of reasons. It's what the community wants, and I think the plan that we have would really provide buildings that are safe and healthy for the kids, and also better for modern learning styles and education.
Obviously, in your mind, Jay, this is needed.
Well, there's no doubt about it. Something needs to be done one way or the other. However that is, it's going to be determined by the voters, I guess. But we felt we provided, pretty good information, and, like we have listed in some information, functional needs, physical needs, security, and technology, and those were all things that were brought up during more than a year's worth of meetings, and we think we kind of hit every one of them there.
So Tuesday, people go to the polls. Where are those?
Polls will be in the 3 community buildings, the school district buildings in Waterville-Elysian and Morristown, 11 to 8. 11 in the morning till 8 at night will be the vote. 28.6 million, right? Yes.
That's the request.
Yes.
There's no options. This is it.
That's it. It's just one option.
Is that required by law too, Joel?
As far as that's a one-question ballot that was determined way back in February when the board voted upon it. Sometimes you can have more than one option if you're looking at some additional things. A number of times with building bonds, you'll see they'll have maybe it's a community building, maybe it's a track, maybe it's something along those.
Yeah, they'll separate the athletics from.
Yep, they'll have those, but that's not the case. We're looking strictly at educational areas, nothing with athletics.
28.6 million would include what?
28.6 million actually includes quite a bit. To preface it and further about the renovation piece, because I've been on the fence in regards to renovation and new construction. Before we made the final decision about whether we wanted to go with the renovation, we actually toured it's actually the Montgomery School that was renovated, and we had a group of us and board members that walked through, and they really did a nice job. It is pretty close. They have some new construction. They had some renovation, and it sold me on the idea that renovation would be a good, viable option for the district.
And again, we will emphasize, the reason it offered before, this wouldn't allow it.
Correct. Yep. The state said it costs too much to renovate, which construction and the acreage that we have for green space, they call it, wasn't adequate for state guidelines at that time.
No, and I know what you're saying is true, because I know when Faribault went through the issue with new schools and whatnot. Very interesting to find out that the number of acres you have to have in order to build a school is quite a few.
Significant.
I can't remember the percentage.
It was 60 at the time, minimum of 60 acres. That's a lot, and it's a lot to mow and maintain.
So, as Tom or Jay noted, just stay downtown.
Yes, we can stay downtown. That was part of the planning process that became very apparent. We formed the subgroups, as Jay mentioned, and each one of these groups met multiple times. We felt that we needed to break it down into subgroups because one committee from start to finish, it was going to be too many meetings, too much responsibility. We like to get many people involved in certain areas. And one of the pieces that came out of there right from the needed to have a presence in both Waterville and Morristown. Also, I think it's safe to say at this point, discuss the Elysian facility. The reason why it's not in the discussion is we leased that out to Tri-Valley Opportunity Council, and when they took that over, it must have been 6 years ago now, they came in and they did the renovations that we're talking about now. They've gone in, they've updated the heating, ventilation, cooling, and the physical and functional needs for an educational Elysian. So that's why that's not in the discussion.
Growing school district?
No, we have a blip coming through now in our lower elementary that's causing some awkward class sizes, but it is growing. But I see that decline as we go through. Right now, we're probably looking around 50 kindergartners for next year. I see when I look at enrollment forecasts, we'll be 55 to 60 range at all grade levels.
So that's in mind when doing this?
Absolutely, yes. Looking at right now, we sit at about 840 students. When I project out with that 60, we're probably going to be about 750 in that area when it's all said and done.
And obviously, Jay, education is different than when you were a kid.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, because I had to walk to school 4 miles and then 5 miles.
And it was uphill all the way.
It was uphill going home usually. But, yeah, no, it's completely different. You know, the technology piece, period, is something that, you know, we didn't deal with 30, 40 years ago. I guess I'm dating myself, but technology is so huge right now, and that's something that we're really working hard to upgrade here. And it was just, you know, you had your little Apple computer back in the 1970s and 80s if you were lucky, and that was about it. Not now.
Is that part of this?
There are parts to it in here, yes, definitely. But you know, a lot of times if you're tearing walls down, you don't know exactly what's inside the walls, and you know, and how things can be hooked up. But yeah, that is definitely a part.
Tom, what do you think is the greatest need in terms of this?
Probably health and also safety, and just to get the buildings to have the environment in the buildings to be healthier for students, and also safer. We're going to control the entrances and relocate, and also handicap accessibility. We've improved the handicap accessibility over the years, but there's some bigger things we need to do to really finalize that. Elevator down into the lower level locker rooms. And there's also the weight room and wrestling room are down there. So those would be, it's really addressing a lot of issues that are related to health, safety, and accessibility.
The buildings have simply become outdated.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last time we've done anything to any of the buildings was 40 years ago. I mean, 40 years is a long time. And I mean, if you're driving a car that was 40 years old, that car would not have airbags, wouldn't have seatbelts, wouldn't have anti-lock brakes. So, you know, technology for buildings also changes, and we know now the amount of our kids need and things like that. We know a lot more about that now than we did back then.
Sure. Joel, I want to go point by point here, if I could, on what is, by the way, this is on the Waterville-Elysian-Morristown School District website. They have a overview of the referendum. Really is nicely laid out, I will say, Joel.
Very good.
Did a nice job on that. It includes all the items that are, well, Colleen Carlson did that. Wow, they're very nice, Colleen. Anyway, knowledge each building.
Yes, that would involve, the 30th building is in Waterville. It would be northwest corner of the building. As the study transpired, it was determined that was problematic of all the buildings in the district, so they felt trying to renovate it, it was easier just to demolish it and replace it.
A 70s renovation.
70s renovation is the 1970s portion of the Waterville building. Basically, it's a central part of the school. When it was constructed what's called demountable walls. So those walls can be moved and reconstructed and put in varying patterns to accommodate the needs for 21st century learners.
Is your office in that area?
Yes.
The only reason I ask that, no offense, Joel, but the color of the walls,
it's nice.
It's kind of a little off gold or whatever.
Yeah, it goes well with the gray carpeting.
Okay, wow. Anyway, 70s renovation. The administration addition?
Well, that's a combination. It's the administration and the STEM all rolled together. What we're looking at in that demolishing of the 1930s building is if people are familiar with the school, we're looking at making a safe and secure entrance, and that would be on the west side in the central. Currently, the entrance to the gym lobby. We're looking to enclose that vestibule so visitors, when they come, would have to walk through and check in before they could get into the building. So that, and included in there would be the district offices and the high school principals to relegate that. And then up above it would be what's called the STEM edition. We're looking at science, technology, engineering, and math. Our science labs are way outdated. We can't perform the experiments necessary for our kids for 21st century learning. We can't get the technology in there needed. There's a tremendous amount of technology associated with the science now, and that's one of the impediments we're trying to address right now.
Elementary classroom edition.
Elementary classroom edition. Right now, due to their enrollment numbers and the way the buildings are laid out, we have a number of elementary classrooms in Waterville that are also incorporated into high school. We've got a 4th grade classroom that's in with the high school. Periodically, we have to go on the 2nd floor with our high school students. And we currently use an old media center for our 4th grade. So we would put 4 on the south end of the elementary so we can pull all of our elementary students into one wing and keep them separated from the high school.
And these would not be temporaries.
No, these will be permanent. One of the things that has evolved over time is our special ed population. We need to incorporate those into our regular ed classroom areas. This would allow us to do those things.
Security improvements, I think you touched on some of that, the front area.
Yes, and we would look at, it's a system where you can go into complete lockdown and you can lock down zones. So if you have an issue and you're concerned, you can press a button and somebody can only get into a certain section of that.
This would be at both buildings?
Oh, absolutely, both buildings. And for security improvements would be, if you've noticed the drop-off zones, people have ever tried to drop off or pick up a student either in Waterville and Morristown, there are some significant issues, so we would look to make some separate drop-off zones between the buses and the parents. We have talked to the county in this process. The road Paquin Street, that if this goes forward, they would be willing to close that end of the road so we could have all that space in between for a separate drop-off and pickup zone.
Joel Whitehurst is the superintendent of Waterville-Elysian-Morristown Public Schools. Jay Schneider is on the school board. Tom Little's on the school board. They're with me this morning here on AM Minnesota. By the way, as luck would have it, or maybe not, tomorrow, Superintendent of Public Schools, Todd Sesker, will be my guest deal back at KDHL with Todd. We've had to move him a few times. Either he's requested him, we've had to have another show in the stead, so it's nice to visit with Todd again. And, of course, the dance line controversy is starting to get closer to coming to a head anyway. It looks like the high school league will come down with their punishment if there is any. The first portion of June, I'm very curious what they decide to do after all the schools have done their respective punishments. So that's tomorrow on our AM Minnesota show. Elevator edition. I think the guys touched on that.
Yep, this is to make our building totally handicap accessible.
And that's a requirement. They don't have a choice.
When you go into a construction project of this magnitude, we have to bring the entire building up to code. That includes fire and life safety, sprinklers. We also have some ramp issues, some elevation issues within the building that the grades are too steep. So we would look to level those out too. To make
there's high school listed here and middle school listed here and elementary school maintenance work. That's the bulk of it, and that's the issue that's having. That would include boilers, heating, ventilation, cooling, electrical. I think that the technology is also included in there for an infrastructure for all those things for the backbone that we need to go forward. The site development work for
new constructions in those areas, movement of dirt. Would also include any permitting, any of those pieces that we would have to do.
And then there's new bus garage space listed here.
Yep, we're looking at, we are one of the few districts in the area that owns and will continue to own our buses. We currently have a small bus garage that is heated. We can get 3 buses in there, or 2 buses rather. We need a larger space to continue to own our buses. So $300,000 is what we're looking at.
You made having its own buses.
No, we prided ourselves about owning the buses. Been pretty much as long as I've been here. Every year we go through and we purchase different buses to keep our fleet up to date and current.
Lots of districts, of course, have somebody else do them.
Yes, lots of people. I won't lie, it is a headache. There are some issues involved with it, but if you own your buses, it's more cost effective, and to take. There's always something cutting out a middle person.
You get an approval, so you're in favor of keeping the buses.
Well, I think so, because I think you kind of get yourself limited if you don't. Like this young lady standing here said, cost effective, efficient that way. Like Joel said, you may have some problems, but there are problems that you can deal with finding bus drivers and routes and making things work. Making things work within your district, and then you have to worry about somebody else doing that for you. And, we can keep the costs, I think, relatively the same that way. We don't have to deal with, maybe cost increases that we might get from them.
Sure. Tom?
Yeah, I would agree with all those points. And also, our bus drivers are primarily residents of our district. And we've had bus drivers, one retire a few years ago that had over 40 years of service. I ran into him after that, and I said, "Oh, you're enjoying retirement?" And he's like, "Well, I miss the kids." So I mean, these bus drivers generally are quite good. They care about the kids, and they work in the district a long time.
You went for that's your first day of school. You know, I remember when I was a little kid, first day of school. I mean, you're apprehended. You don't know what's going to happen. You're scared.
Yeah.
And the bus driver, it helps you through all that.
Yeah.
At least that's what happened in my little town. So, Tom, you Tuesday, 11 to 8 are the hours. People vote at the Elysian building.
Yeah, the Waterville building and the Morristown building, and absentee ballots are available till 5 o'clock Monday in the superintendent's office.
That would be here.
Waterville building.
Yeah. It would be in the Waterville building. There's nothing you can do online nowadays.
You can register or no? I'll just pass it over to Joel.
Oh, okay. Right.
Well, that just, as far as the online piece is concerned, you can, part of the absentee ballot process is you have to make application, and we have posted the application online so a person can go online, print it, and complete it and fill it out, and either mail it or bring it in.
So, Jay, what's the number one question you get from constituents about all this?
Probably dollar amount, what it's going to cost me, and then, trying to explain all of the items that were chosen in this project total. That's the other thing that's, it's kind of hard to break it all down. I know Joel did it a little bit, but I mean, there's so much more into it that hopefully, they can find that information on the website and be a little bit more informed. We try and answer the questions, but those are probably the two big ones.
I want to get clarified about something here, Joel, because I seem to recall, wasn't there a law passed concerning ag property and dealing with bond issues?
Not yet. There are different
things. They're discussing that now.
There's discussion at the legislative level. The latest one that I've seen that I think still has some legs and still moving forward, it's actually a tax credit, where they're looking at 50% reduction in the taxes paid, and it comes back in the form of a rebate. That has gone to committee. Where it sits right now, I don't know. With the statutory deadline of May 18th, who knows in this whirlwind what's going to occur with those pieces.
So according to the information you have on your website, the estimated annual tax impact for a homestead valued at $100,000 would be $166.
That's correct. That comes from our financial advisors, Ehlers and Associates.
$150,000 would be $292.
Correct.
$200,000 would be $417.
Yes.
And ag is $349.
$349 on a $200,000 parcel. Yes. And actually, we have a calculator on our website. If you go to the district website, you can enter information, and it'll calculate it for you. People who own multiple parcels of property, or if they own ag land, it is quite a cumbersome process. So there's an 800 number on our website if you want to call our advisors, Ehlers and Associates. They'll actually take your parcel numbers, and they'll run the calculations, let you know what the tax impact will be.
Hey, Gordy?
My own personal information.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, John.
We had a question from a listener. Is there going to be any absentee ballots available in the Morristown schools?
Listener just called in and wanted to know if absentee ballots are available in Morristown.
Yes, if you come in, we can fax the information over.
Okay. They can get them in Morristown.
All right.
Is this going to cause any problems in terms of school going on during all the construction?
To make it work, that's it'll be a phased project. The building bond will be during summer. Construction will occur during the summer of 2016 and in the summer of 2017. So we'll try to do the most of it in the off time when students are in the building, but there will be some.
All right. Tuesday. Again, the vote is Tuesday. Hours are 11 until 8.
Correct. And the Waterville building, school building, the Morristown school building, and the Elysian school building.
Final thoughts, Jay?
I guess we'd just like to see as many people as we, come out and vote. This is your time to tell us what you want us to do, and then the school board will react after we see the final results.
You put a lot of work into this, right?
A lot of work that, a lot of meetings, even in addition to the school board administration. I mean, there's a lot of people that have put a lot of time into this, and we really appreciate that. The community portion of the findings here has been very nice for us, and we do appreciate that.
And that's why you guys came up with this as the one proposal that you're presenting to taxpayers, because you think this is the best possible way to spend those dollars.
Well, it's a combination of everything that was found, all the problematic things that all the committees had determined are that need to be dealt with here, and as a board, we put it all together as one big package, and I think that's why the dollar high, but there are so many pressing needs.
Your final thoughts?
I think from the people I talked to in the community, there's overwhelming consensus about the need. There's not overwhelming consensus about the nuts and bolts of it, or I think really realizes the need, and I just would encourage people to get facts, make a decision.
I've only got a few seconds here. Joel, what is the interest rate on this bond?
The interest rate on this bond is 3.25%.
Oh, boy, would I love to be able to refinance that 3.25%. Wow.
Yes.
Hey, thanks, Joel.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out.
Thanks, Jay. And thanks, Tom, and best of luck to you with the influenza efforts. That concludes today's edition of AM Minnesota on KDHL AM Faribault, Minnesota. Get out and vote Tuesday, folks, 11 until 8, the polls in Elysian, Morristown, and Waterville.